Let's move on to a look back at 2020. 2020 was, I think we can safely say, the most unique year of any of our lives. It was, it was a storm of fecal matter virtually from the get, and just kept on going. It disrupted virtually everybody's life. It disrupted our hobby in ways that are going to be felt for a long, long time. Maddie, for you and I, it disrupted our industry in ways we still have no idea how it's going to shake out. It's been amazing in terms of you think you live your life thinking, well, okay, this is pretty much what we're going to have, and here is the best that a year can be, and here's the worst that a year can be, and then something just comes in like King of Tokyo and just stomps all over everything and changes it up. For those of you who are listening and have lost loved ones, we feel your pain, and we are so sorry that has happened. It's absolutely horrible, and it's going to take a long time for us to get past that. But we are doing a board gaming podcast, so we're just going to talk about this one specific aspect of 2020. We're going to talk about board games. We're going to talk about what came out, what didn't come out, what we loved and what we didn't love. Maddie, should I list the games that we reviewed from that are 2020 games? Because doing this podcast, when you can't get together and play games, was a unique challenge this year.
It took us a little while to figure it out, and then we all figured it out. I mean, at this point now, like, we could keep doing this podcast forever without ever seeing each other again. Like, I don't want to, but we got good at it. We figured it out. We made it work, and I've played. I think I can say I've played more board games this year than I've ever played before, because I can just text Ben or Paul or Trey or just say, anybody got some time in the next couple of days? And, it's just, I've played more games, I think. I've played 0 games in person, but I've played more games in general, I think, than ever.
I've played maybe 50% of my usual. I've played far less games.
And I don't think that's going to change for me, though. I think now that this is on the table, I think I'll be getting more reps of games always in general. And just game night will be, the coup de grace of the week of like, ooh, what game actually deserves to make the table?
Right. Grace. But yes.
What did I say? Coup de grace? You can't say coup de grace?
No, it's Grace, and in French you don't pronounce the very last letter. So
will you just do it in a really offensive French accent for me?
You are thinking of coup d'état.
I am thinking of coup d'état.
Okay, but instead it is
you had to dip into that horrible character to actually convince me I was
what
wrong.
you're looking for is coup de grâce. What?
Yes.
Oui, monsieur. Oui.
I appreciate that.
It is nothing, monsieur. It is maybe in
Please make it stop.
Maybe in I don't think I can. All right. So here are games we reviewed from the 2020 group, or from the 2020 group, sorta. And I will point out the sortas. So On Mars, we reviewed On Mars, which is sorta a 2020 game. It is technically listed on BGG as a 2020 game, even though for a lot of places it came out in 2019, and a bunch of us played it in 2019. We reviewed Blood on the Clock Tower, very unique 2020 release. Food Chain Magnate, the Ketchup Mechanism expansion, sorta. It's a 2019 release, but here in the States, generally didn't come out until 2020. Kalis 1303, Eclipse, Second Dawn of the Galaxy, Oceans, Glenmore 2, which once again is a 2019 release, but it's sort of a 2020 release because lots of places didn't get it until 2020. Smartphone Inc., Kanban EV, Imperial Struggle, Tekenyu, The Cost, Fort, Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, 18 Chesapeake, Marco Polo 2, once again, sorta. It was a 2019 release, but tons of the world didn't get it until 2020. Lost Ruins of Arnak, Beyond the Sun, Anno 1800, Tawan Tinsuyu, and The Crew, sorta. And, of course, Hallertau, as we discussed.
That's a solid year of podcasting.
You know what I mean? Given that we did a ton.
Given that I haven't seen you since March. Well, I saw you a couple weeks ago from 400 feet away, but yeah.
Yeah, it's been.
I haven't seen Dmitry's face since like I don't know, May, April.
Look, don't. What I don't want to do is I don't want to start talking about the good things about 2020 because that's kind of disrespectful to people that have had a lot of pain this year. So,
I miss you, Dmitry.
Oh, Dmitry, we all miss you, Dmitry. So yeah, that's a pretty good list of games that we reviewed this year, considering basically that's about 50% of our output, and the other 50% were out of necessity going back and reviewing games that we loved and were able to play online. Which I also thought was really good. I did genuinely enjoy being able to dig into some back catalog stuff, things that we don't talk about. I should have mentioned I played Brass again this week. So and
I'm dying to play Brass more.
Oh.
I think we found our niche as a podcast this year. I think we cover new heavy games, but we also play a lot of classic heavy games. I think that's what our audience wants. I mean, and it just happens to be what we want. That's what we do.
Yeah, and on a more
occasionally we'll throw in a middleweight or a light game that we think is exceptional.
Sure. And on a more normal year, I think we can continue doing that. I think we were a little caught up in the tyranny of the new, right? We always had to do the new hotness. I would love it if our podcast, every third episode or fourth episode, dipped back and brought out something that, hey, you know what? In all of this cycle of all these new things, here's something you may have forgotten about. Here's an absolute classic. Let's talk about it and talk about why we love it. I would love to do that.
Yeah, I think we've just naturally found that's what we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. Are there any trends from 2020? Are there any things? Oh, I should also say we did also review 3 games that should be coming out in 2021. One we reviewed in January, Oath, Chronicles of Empire and Exile. You and I reviewed that.
Delivering pretty soon.
Yeah, coming soon.
And a completely unrecognizably different game from the one we did. Literally unrecognizable.
Which, if you go back and listen to the episode, I'm pretty happy about. It was one of those things that I'm like, there are some things I really like in this, and there are some things I really don't like in this. So I'm looking forward to it. I thought that the ingenuity in the early prototype that we played was kind of amazing, but it still needed a lot of work. So I'm glad that a lot of work is done, and I can't wait to see what they've come up with. Brick and Mortar also, and the Transcontinental. Those are 3 games that we reviewed that should be coming out probably in 2021. But after 2020, I no longer plan for the future. I take it day by day. Were there any trends from 2020 that we can identify? For me, I can say that I think that I've noticed that the roll and write seems to be dying, or it seems to at least be the wave of roll and writes has diminished.
Freudian slip there.
Has diminished a little bit. I think that there was sort of more of a bifurcation this year. There seemed to be a good amount of heavy games that came out this year, and there seemed to be a lot of calicos this year as well. Sort of a real good separation of lighter casual fare and heavier stuff, and not quite as much in the middle zone. Maybe that's just my perception, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 of the big games of the year, Lost Ruins of Arnak and Dune Imperium, are all about combining 2 mechanics and it's just worker placement, deck building. I feel like there was a lot of peanut butter and chocolate mix-ups this year of jamming things together and seeing what happens. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like I don't see an overall theme this year of like the Wingspan year of just like, wow, our hobby just grew and got so much more diverse. And I mean, diversity was definitely a huge topic this year, but I don't think we've seen the ripples of that yet in design. And I'm sure hoping we see a lot more POC designers in the future and POC publishers, and of course POC people at our tables as well and at conventions. But I think hopefully a lot of the work began this year to see those things happen. So I think we will see trends in that way in the future. But yeah, they're obviously not there yet.
I hope so very much. Yeah, listen, the conversation happened this year. The results of that conversation are going to take a while before they filter in. But Very hopeful that they will. What was your biggest surprise of 2020 from a board game standpoint?
Oh, Anno 1800. Absolutely. Not even close. I had zero expectations for a 2020 Martin Wallace video game IP board game. Wasn't even going to look at it. Wasn't even going to watch a video about it. Just assumed, yeah, Martin Wallace got to eat. Gotta get a paycheck every once in a while. God bless him. This is going to be, a paycheck. And not going to be anything interesting. And it's, I think you're going to see it on a lot of our top threes for the year. Just absolutely blew my mind.
Because I'm such a Wallaceite, I did not think that it didn't. I love it, by the way. You might see it on my list. We'll see. But it's sort of a return to form in some ways for him.
When was the last time that he did it? I mean, what's the newest Martin Wallace game you own that's not this one?
Good question. I gotta look into that. I gotta think about that. I'm not sure, but I'm always hopeful that the next Martin Wallace is gonna be the next great Martin Wallace. So there you go. That's for me. For me,
I guess I lost that hope, but now I definitely have it again.
Oh, he's when he's on.
I mean, he started
amazing.
doing like skirmish mini games and stuff. Like I don't know what was going on there.
Listen, I played Wildlands. It was okay. It's not my kind of thing. It's mid-weight, but it's but it was really interesting in terms of how he designed it. It was kind of cool.
Okay, I'll take your word
for it. For me, the biggest surprise, I'm gonna list two. First of all, I thought Beyond the Sun was very surprising to me. I thought that a game that took the main part of the game, which is the space exploration and conquest, and turned that into the mini game, and turned the mini game, which is the tech tree, into the main game, I thought was brilliant. I thought it was a really interesting design, and to me, what it said, oh my goodness, how many other games could we design that simply do that simply take the small sideboard and turn that into the main board and make the game around that? I thought that would be really fascinating. But more than anything, my biggest surprise was the cost. Came kind of out of nowhere. And what an amazing, such a fascinating game. A game that was kind of like what you were talking about games that approach games from a social relevance point of view. In this case, about the cost, literal cost of industrialization and capitalism. I have problems with it, but I have no problem with the intent and the design, and so many decisions in that game are brilliant. It's
Tom, I haven't played it, and I'm upset about
it. It's crazy good. You are gonna love it, Matt. It is. It does some.
Does anybody own it? Did you buy it?
I don't have it. Ben has it though.
Should I just buy it for the podcast? It's $95. What are you doing, DGG?
I know.
I know.
That's the only reason I don't have it. That's the only reason I don't have it. By the time I found out about it, it was so expensive. But it is a great economic game. It is a really interesting economic.
Think it's got legs.
Economic game. I don't know. I don't know if it has legs. I know that the first 3 to 10 plays are going to be dynamite.
Yeah,
and
then,
well,
that's a lot. What is that? 30, 40 hours of gameplay?
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. And then it might be too fragile. Don't know. Can't say. But and also, I think that the intentionality of the design was amazing. I think that at the end of the day, I didn't feel what they wanted me to feel from it. And maybe
it was one of my favorite. It was maybe my favorite review of yours this year. I love hearing a review of a game I've never played before. And you guys definitely got me hyped to try it.
Yeah, that was my biggest surprise. The cost was an incredible experience. And I hope and pray that there are going to be a lot more games that surprise me in terms of the design of a game and the intention of a game. I think is incredible.
Yeah.
Was there a game?
Shall we do? Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just have a couple more questions that we can ask.
Yeah. We're gonna hear everybody's top 3 new to them games of 2021. So stick around for that.
Yeah. I think I just got 2 more questions. So I'll just ask.
Yeah, please.
Was there a game changer in 2020? Was there anything that came out, much in the way Wingspan was a game changer, much in the way, let's say, Pandemic Legacy was a game changer. Was there anything that was a game changer this year?
I don't think so. Other than, I mean, you had brought this up, so I guess I'm cribbing from you.
No,
but I think 18 Chesapeake could be a game changer.
Yeah.
In that it is an attractive package and a reasonable price. And a semi-easy teach, and could actually bring in, for the first time ever, maybe a large amount of new people into the 18XX hobby.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think 18 Chesapeake, the problem with 18XX is it's so good, but that first play is hard. And is there a way we can get people playing 18XX games without that first play being so hard to learn, so hard to start playing, so brutal in the way it plays and all that sort of stuff? Is there a way we can just, is there a learner's version of 18XX? And the design has been heading that way, right? There's 1889 was much more light friendly. There's 1846 is a much simpler version in a lot of ways. 18 Chesapeake is by far a more stripped down, more elegant, more simple version of 18XX, and might just be the bridge where we can bring a lot of people into that side of the hobby. So I totally agree.
I will say one thing I think, which probably will end up being the biggest change from this year, or the biggest addition to this year, is I really hope that all publishers learn that there is nothing negative about having an online implementation of your game for free.
Yeah.
I know there's an extra cost to it for the most part for designers, for publishers, in order to have an online implementation made. I don't need you to give me a BGA, Board Game Arena implementation. I know those are difficult and time intensive and potentially expensive.
Though if you could, we'd love it.
But we'd appreciate it. But everybody has some fans out there who are going to make TTS mods for you. Don't pull them off.
Yep.
Don't ban them. I really strongly, and you know what? If somebody's got proof and numbers that they are losing money by these things going up there, I'd love to see them, because I just don't believe it exists. I only think do you know how many copies of games I bought this year from just playing a TTS mod?
Yep.
Like, I just think our hobby is good enough that we're going to support your mods, like get it out there for people so they can try, and so that they can play with people from around the world, or from people at different, who a lot of people can't even make it to game night. It's a privilege to be able to have a babysitter and go to a game night, or to be able to stay up late when you have work the next morning. Like, those are privileges that not everybody can afford. And I think that board games should be available to everybody. And I think you'll make money by doing it. I really strongly do.
And this is coming from content creators. Matt and I, we make a lot of the money that puts diapers on our children from royalties for the things that we have produced. So when we're saying give it away in this way, it's not coming from people that don't know what we're talking about. It's not people that don't also have skin in the game, as it were. There's, unfortunately, it gets into that whole argument about torrenting, right? And there is that study, that very large study that came out that said people that torrent music buy more music than people that don't torrent music. That doesn't mean that torrenting doesn't have issues.
Didn't destroy the music industry.
Well, did it? Or was the industry completely dying?
The question if it was inevitable is different. But
was it completely and utterly dying before?
It's also different. I don't think it's a fair thing to say, like, well, Matt, do you want Love and Monsters to be downloaded for free from everywhere? Of course I don't. But I don't think that's fair, because the experience of you paying for it and watching it is exactly the same.
Yes.
The experience of playing a game on TTS and playing it at a table in front of you is not the same. It would be more like, do I mind if people watch a blurry black and white version of my movie with no sound? Sure, go for it. You can watch that for free if you want. I imagine if you make it through more than 5 minutes, you might want to pay for it and buy it. That to me is a much more fair analogy for playing something on TTS. I think also I would strongly say that I'm not okay with people playing a game on TTS more than once or twice if someone in their group doesn't own it.
Yes.
I would. Yes. I don't think I wouldn't be okay with somebody playing a game that nobody in their group owns 100 times on TTS. I think that is probably not cool. And at that point, you've gotten so much joy out of it. Everyone in your group who's enjoyed it with you, throw $5 in, buy a copy.
And by the way, just while we're on the subject, the best torrent of Love and Monsters that's out there is by Jerk Monster. Jerk Monster's torrent
I'm sure there are many.
It is he put the camera at the right spot in the back of the theater and just really
you can hear him getting COVID in the theater while he's recording it. It's fantastic.
He suffers for his art. Jerk Monster does. It was really wonderful. Let's get to it. Let's get to the top 3. Maddie, how about we do it this way? How about we list other people's, and then for you and I, we'll do you say your number 3, I'll say my number 3, and so on and so forth.
Of course.
Is that okay with you?
Absolutely. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You start.
First up is Jennifer Schlickler, the game pioneer.
By the way, shout out to Jennifer. She is crushing it. She's doing video reviews and commentary and unboxings and all sorts of stuff. She is all over the geek and she's crushing it.
I'm extremely jealous of the amount of games she plays both in person and online. And she's definitely the most influential gamer in my life this year. And she's the one who got me to play Anno. She taught me so many games this year. I've had such a great time playing games with her.
Yeah. And she got her first shot, by the way. So she's halfway inoculated.
Well, that's wonderful. And yes, so my number 1 gamer of the year is Jennifer Schlickler.
Here.
Her top 3 are Anno 1800, Pendulum, and Pan Am. Very interesting. I own Pendulum and haven't played it yet because I don't think an online implementation of that would do it justice. So that's one game I have yet to get to the table because it is a real-time game where you're having to move pieces around. And
I own it as well and haven't played it either.
And Pan Am, when I read that on her list, I was like, oh yeah, I really love Pan Am. Man, I want to play that more. Pan Am's great.
Pan Am is I said elegant too much this episode, so apologize, but it's elegant. I don't love it. It doesn't really push my buttons, but it's an elegant implementation. It's really good at what it does.
It's like playing Pandemic in reverse.
Yeah, that is.
It is. It's doing the opposite of Pandemic, but it's really fun. It's like it's hard to explain why, but it really does feel like playing Pandemic backwards.
I'm going to give it the top 3 of Candice. Candice is basically an honorary game brainer. We love her to death. The work that she does at BGG is absolutely fantastic. And
she wrote an incredible piece on coin games this week that is a must read for anybody in our hobby.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, you
can find that on Board Game Geek, obviously,
and you can find it on which coin game was she reviewing in particular? Because
it's the one about Sweden, I think. Yes. A Bridge Too Far or something like that.
Yeah, and they put it on. They love the review so much that they put it on their site as well. So Candice is.
I don't think it's called A Bridge Too Far. That's what it is.
It's definitely not what that is called. But her top 3 for this year were Imperial Struggle number 1.
All bridges burning. Red Revolt and White Guard in Finland. There not Sweden. Okay, I couldn't have been more wrong.
Finland's close. I'm gonna give it to you.
Okay. What's Candice's top 3?
Imperial Struggle, number 1. Imperial Struggle, you might be hearing that some more. Dune Imperium was her number 2. Dude,
have you played it, Tom?
I own it. I have read the rules. I can't wait. It was under the tree. My family bought it for me. I think my son figured out that I wanted it and got it for me. So that was really sweet.
Yeah. Paul and I played it once. I played 1 2-player game of it. The 2-player game works really well with a really simple bot. Really simple, like not coin, like, oh God, I have to control a bot. Let's pull out the flowchart.
It doesn't really seem like simple. 2 is the way it should be played, though, right? I mean, it seems like it's going to sing at the higher counts, right?
Potentially, yeah. But at 2, it felt pretty great because that bot really does a good job of making it feel like a 3-player game. Really gets in your face.
People are really liking it. I can't wait. I can't wait to play it. I'm really looking forward to it. And her number 3 was, as we already mentioned today, 18 Chesapeake. Was her absolute number 3. And she wrote a little note here. Here are older games that she played for the first time in 2020 and loved. Too Many Bones, Santiago. She reached out to me and said, thank you for talking about Santiago so much. I played it and absolutely love it. Nippon, Concordia. She'd never played Concordia until last year. Wow. And, oh, wow, look at that. Labyrinth, War on Terror. Awesome. And on the first day of 2021.
New Year's Day.
She played TI 4. She played Twilight Imperium 4.
Which I've never played.
My apologies, Candice. I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Such a hater.
I am really a hater. I am such a hater of that game.
All right. Ben Mandelker, who does all the extra credit homework, wrote an essay here, but I'll start with his top three.
He gave us gave us each an apple. He's so sweet.
Number one, controversial pick, as it's a Kickstarter game, but we that's why we called this
new to you.
Top 3 games you have played that were new to you this year. New to you. So if you had never played Hansa Teutonica before, that's fine. And Transcontinental is a 2021 game. Ben's number one game of the year, Transcontinental. Number 2, 18 Chesapeake. Number 3, Smartphone Inc., a game that I own that I have never played. How do you feel about Smartphone Inc.?
I like it. It's a really solid game. It's an economic game that I don't think is better than other economic games. So it's not at the top of my pantheon, but there's so many really smart things about the way the game was designed. It's very simple in a lot of ways, but there is this, I guess, polyomino, except all the polyominoes are the same shape, aspect where you're putting a board on top of a board and you're programming how many actions of each type you're going to be able to do by arranging these things on your board. And it was a game changer. It was really smart. I was like, oh my goodness, the choices, the things that that this little puzzle I'm figuring out tell me that I can either do this or this. What I really want to do is neither of those two. Which of these two options that I'm left with am I going to take is fantastic. Really good.
And Alfred just texted me his top 3 right now.
Oh, how about that?
He was one of the only ones we were waiting for. I have him and Jesse in here too. We got them both.
You got Jesse? Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So now we have everybody.
Should I go to Elder?
Down to the wire. Well, look, Ben wrote a whole bunch of stuff here. I'm just going to read it really quick for him. Okay. His top 10, if we want to hear the rest: On Mars, Bonfire, Anno 1800, Brick and Mortar, Hallertau, Fast Sloths, and The Cost. Good luck saying Hallertau and Fast Sloths. Back.
That's not good.
Top 10 games he hadn't played until this year, but he probably should have: Architects of the West, Maria, Roads and Boats, Automobile, CO2, Taverns of Tiefenthal, Macau, and the Year of the Dragon, D. Mocker, and Nooseford. His favorite expansions: Railroad Evolution, Underwater Cities, Food Chain Magnet, Ketchup Mechanic, Heaven and Ale, and Railways of Portugal. Boom. There you go, Ben. I read it all. Thank you for always going the extra mile for us.
Yes. Elder's number one game of 2020 was Anno 1800. His number 2, On Mars. Controversial. I think a lot of people might have put On Mars on if they didn't kind of consider it a 2019 game.
Even though BGG considers it 2020, and there's a whole controversy about that. But that's why we don't care, because this is the top 3 games that were new to you.
But asterisk on Mars, because a lot of us might have it in our top 3 if we had considered it as a 2020 release. Number 3, Bonfire. Stefan Feld coming back.
Have you played Bonfire yet?
I have not. Played.
I'd love to play it with you.
I'm really looking forward to it. I love classic Feld, and this feels like a return to classic Feld. So
it's the heaviest game he's ever made.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Trey's top 3. Number 1, Transcontinental. Number 2, this shocked me to my shoes. Gloomhaven. No, it is. Of the Lion.
No, you said it right the first time.
Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven. That sounds amazing, actually. And number 3, Oceans. Oceans is fantastic. It's definitely, it'd be in my top 3 games I wish I had played more this year.
I didn't love Oceans. I liked Oceans. I admired it, but I didn't love it.
I love it. And yeah, I love that he put Gloomhaven on here. It's the Jaws of the Lion is definitely my preferred version. I had a lot of fun with it. And I know that Trey played with a friend of his and made it pretty far in the campaign. And that's cool that he put it on the list.
That's awesome. Paul said, number 1, Transcontinental. Oh boy, are you noticing something? Number 2, Anno 1800. And number 3, Imperial Struggle. Paul is he's just so vanilla, right? He doesn't nothing out of the ordinary. He picks the same thing everyone else picked. It's just...
I mean, he picked 3 of the best games of the year. That's what we're doing here.
But he's just so basic. Come on. Can I pick on my brother?
That's not basic. How's that basic?
He's just so basic, right? It's just vanilla. There's no flavor there.
Oh, my gosh. It's so rude. I'm sorry, Paul. I'm trying to defend you here.
What you got?
Jake is next. Jake's top 3 are Lost Ruins of Arnak, Yokohama, and In the Year of the Dragon. Like we said, top 3 games that were new to you in 2020, not necessarily top 3 games released in 2020.
Now, did he review that before we did our episode that we just did last week?
What?
I think he picked those games before we did our episode, right?
Yes, he did.
He did.
Oh, he would have put the crew on there, right? Is what you're saying?
100%.
Yeah,
no question about it. Dmitry's top 3. Number 1, Beyond the Sun. Number 2, Eclipse, Second Dawn of the Galaxy. Number 3, Oceans. And special mention, his number 4 would have been Cell Phone Inc.
Or as it's called, Smartphone Inc. But God bless him.
Well, he tries. He tries. He does the best.
Let's do. I've got Alfred's and Jesse's here.
Do it.
Coming in hot off the presses. Alfred's top 3. The only person to mention this, and I really appreciate it, is number 1 is Praga, Caput, Regni, which I would love to teach you, Tom, which I think is fantastic. And the only reason that it's maybe not on my top 3 is because I just haven't played it enough. Anno 1800 is Alfred's 2, and Marco Polo 2 is his number 3.
Oh, interesting.
Let's do Jesse's here. Jesse's top 3 are number 1, Imperial Struggle. Number 2, Oceans. Number 3, this one he said, well, his number 3, I think, is a 3-way tie between Gloomhaven, Jaws the Lion, The Crew, and Pandemic Legacy Zero, which he said he hasn't even played, but he imagines it would be a top 3 for him.
Oh, come on, Jesse. That's awesome. I will say I also would love to play Pandemic Season 0. I hear great things about it. I would love to do it at some point. The problem is how do we arrange that? How does that happen?
Yeah, okay. I'm good.
You hate working together with anybody, so that's
well, when it comes to board games, yeah, I enjoy it in real life.
Some might say not so much, but
all right, you want to do your top 3?
Let's both do our top 3.
Ooh,
okay. Let's start with
3.
Number 3, or you know what? We should probably start with number 1 because I think my number 1. Tell you what, my number 1 for the year, and it wasn't close. This is the game that head and shoulders above the rest was the best game of the year for me. Imperial Struggle was an absolute masterpiece. Manny, what was your number 1?
My number 1, and it wasn't even close. It was head and shoulders above every other game this year, is Imperial Struggle. If you had asked me if I felt good about putting a game about colonialism as my 2020 as my number 1 game of the year, I'd tell you no, I do not. We did a whole episode where we talked about that. You can hear our thoughts on that as well. I think the game handles it in a much better and more respectful bird's eye view than it has in the past. It also helps that one of the designers is a POC who has been very outspoken about his beliefs on colonialism. Regardless, the game is in my top 10 of all time. I don't think I've ever had more fun playing a board game than I've had playing Imperial Struggle. I would prefer to play it over Twilight Struggle, their previous game, 10 out of 10 times. And I absolutely adore it. And I look forward to playing it literally for the rest of my life.
I wonder if I'm going to end up liking it more than playing Twilight Struggle. Just because Twilight Struggle is in my top 3 games of all time. So I don't know, and I played it so much that there's it burned into my heart is a love for that. But the fact that the first time I played Imperial Struggle, I said, oh my God, this is so much of what I love about that and these other elements that just are so many wonderful, amazing, agonizing choices, and this constant battle that is ongoing over the course of the game. Just astonishing, absolutely astonishing game. Could not get better.
It's incredible, and I do like it more than Twilight Struggle easily. I can say that.
Sure, but you're a Twilight Struggle lightweight. You're a tourist in the Twilight Struggle world. All right.
Sure.
What is your number 2?
My number 2 is Anno 1800. It blew me away. It restored my faith in Martin Wallace and heavy games. It plays like nothing else I've ever played, honestly. And it's a completely new type of worker placement game. It does feel kind of revolutionary. And like, how did this person who's been designing games for this long have another gear to shift into and come up with all this new stuff that is pretty mind-boggling? And I think it is a game that deserves, like we talked about Hallertau, like, is this a tournament level game? Anno 1800 is a tournament worthy game. This is a game that I think will highly reward competitive play, and I think is very balanced and highly competitive.
My number 2 game of the year is Anno 1800.
Wow, which we have never played. I would love to play this with you.
I would love to play it with you as well.
I've probably played this almost as much as Hallertau this year. I'd say I've probably played it 15 to 20 times.
I mean, you can probably tell that Anno 1800 is a Tom game. It is 100% a Tom game. Like finding the perfect move. I love the fact that the actions are so small and quick, and it's right back to you fairly in fairly short order. And
this is the ultimate mat game too. I mean, there is no more game that you will find that is being handed a pile of crap and being asked to build something out of it.
Yeah. I love the fact that, I see echoes of so many older games in this. The fact that you get these people cards that you can fulfill what they want, and then they get and then they give you points. That is so Princess of Florence, right? Princess of Florence, you have there are so many. It's almost like, when I look at the way he designed this game, it almost looks like Easter eggs of some of my favorite games that nobody talks about anymore. And he's put it together in something that feels whole. It doesn't feel like it feels
new and old at the same time.
Yeah. I can't wait to play it more. I look forward to. I think this one could be. Right now, I think it's 8.5, something like that. It could go. Could go much higher. Totally. I just need to play it more.
Yeah.
And my number 3 game, I decided to go with something that is released, a 2020 game. And after a long thought, I really had a tough time with this, because I had some things that were. I'll say the honorable mentions. The honorable mentions are The Cost and Tawantinsuyu. I loved Tawantinsuyu. I thought it was really amazing. And The Cost, I've already gushed about so many of the things I like about that game. But at the end,
but my honorable mentions: Praga, Caput, Regni, which needs more plays. Bonfire, Tawantinsuyu, Fort, which I think is fantastic, and I played a ton of Fort this year. I really enjoy it. I think it's a really, really fun filler. Kalis 1303, Oceans, and Babylonia.
Well, it's funny that you should say Fort, because my number 3 is The Crew. At the end of the day, as I was thinking about it, now sure, I just reviewed it last week, so it's very fresh in my mind, but I for the year that 2020 was, I don't think that I got more just pure joy than playing The Crew. I think it is kind of an instant classic. It is a very accessible game and very easy to understand. But the idea of taking a trick-taking game, which in card games are the most brutal, take that, smash the other person, and competitive games, and to, in a very elegant way, turn it into a cooperative game that is just completely engrossing. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love The Crew. Well done.
Amazing.
What's your number 3?
I had a lot of fun with it. It's a really fun game. But you know me, I don't like working with people.
I hear you.
My number 3 is the game we reviewed today. It is Uwe Rosenberg's final big box game, Hallertau. It's funny because it made me fall in love with Uwe Rosenberg in a way I never had before. It made me play. I've literally played every big box game that he has ever designed since I played Hallertau, because I became obsessed with making sure that I had played all of them and owned all of them. So now I own every big box Uwe game other than Mercator, which is impossible to get. Would I even rank it in the top half? I
didn't love Mercator, by the way. I'll let you know.
Really?
Yeah, it's good. It's good, not great.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd rank it in my top half of Uwe games. I can say I like it more than Converna. I can say I like it more than. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I need to play it more. I really love it though. But that's like saying what's your favorite Stanley Kubrick movie? I don't know. They're all great.
Yeah. I won the debate. Just to be clear, I won the debate. All right.
You had the winning side of the debate, but I won the debate.
I clearly won the debate.
I convicted I put somebody in jail that shouldn't have been there. Let's say, or in fact, I freed a guilty man. That's what I did.
Pretty sure I won the debate.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.